This is a 56-inch Encon Imperial ceiling fan. I purchased this in the summer of '92. I think it was about $78 with Payless Cashways. It's one of the last models made by Encon before they pretty much hit the toilet. About the early '90s, they had several different, probably had 15 or 20 unique models that they sold probably for a couple of years. It had decent sized motors in them, decent sized blades, and a lot of these were sold through Payless Cashways. And again, we all know what happened after that. The quality went downhill quickly, and Encon became one of the cheapest fan companies in existence. This fan is unusual for several reasons. First of all, this is not the only Imperial that Encon made, according to a couple of collectors. There was an ornate 52-inch 6-blade version. I believe there's already a YouTube video of that one, and that one, from what I understand, was also called the Imperial. Another thing that's unusual about this one is that there are several different versions of this fan. I think there's a Bahama version, which the brackets are a little bit different. There's a couple things that you can tell by looking at it. If you have trained eyes, that it's not an Encon. It would be the Payless Cashways brand itself. Another thing is I've seen these online with stack motors, and I'm assuming that those were earlier model fans. I don't know enough about them. They may not have even been Encon, but these were offered at one time with stack motors in this 56-inch size. It's one of the few 56-inch residential fans that I've come across, and there's been a few different 56-inch model Hunter Originals. There's 60-inch Hunter Originals. There's the Key Largo 5-footer that's 60-inch, and then obviously the other versions of this fan as well. But I just thought it was unusual when I was fan shopping when we moved into our new house 22 years ago that this one was 56-inch. So that's kind of why I got it, so I would have something unusual. Also, there was a 52-inch version of this fan called the Bouquet. It had 52-inch blades, and it also had an included 3-light kit, which was kind of flowery. Obviously, I didn't want to go for that. What I remember is that the motor housing is pretty much the same on the Bouquet, but there are versions of that fan that have kind of the scallop-looking motor housing. That I don't recall which one of those was the Bouquet, or they both were, or Encon seemed to change their models up quite frequently. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. You see that the blades are white finish on one side and washed oak on the other. I prefer the washed oak side on these, but I flipped one of them over to the washed oak. Maybe that'll serve as a kind of a RPM indicator for the sake of this video. This is low. It's going to run about 60 RPM or so, at least I guess it's got up to speed. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Low's going to be about 60 RPM. You can feel a little bit of air. I'll go ahead and turn it to medium. I'm going to try to progress through the speeds kind of quickly because this one is one of those 4 or 5 blade fans. It's also reversible, so I kind of want to get all that in too if I can and try to save some time on the video. Medium is about 110. You can hear the wind noise. It's not really anything special as far as feeling the air movement. You can start to hear wind noise off of it. Go ahead and put it on high. And high is going to run about 200 RPM. This thing was a pain in the butt to keep balanced. Probably the long blades probably had something to do with it. Easy to weigh down over time, I suppose. Combined with these brackets, they're not like Hunter Original brackets. You can bend them without a whole lot of effort. So there's a little bit of wobbling, and it's not too bad. Air movement on this thing is not what I'd expect out of a 56-inch fan. you know, it does blow a decent amount of air, but it's, you know, it's not the strongest fan that I've ever come across. I'll go ahead and turn it off. Run it for you on reverse in just a second. Trying to think if there's anything else on this fan that might be unusual. It's got that Encon mounting, which I can't stand. It's where you pretty much have to lift the whole motor up and keep it in place with one hand while you're screwing everything tight with the other one, just because the ball sits inside the canopy. It doesn't sit in the mounting bracket itself. So that's forward. In just a minute we'll reverse it and I'll show you the speeds there. And we'll now go ahead and show you the speeds on reverse. Pretty much the same as they are with forward. As I've said before, some fan manufacturers, the speeds are a little different on reverse than they were on forward. This is not the case with this one. Low is still going to be about 60 RPM. It's a relatively quiet fan. The bearings are in good shape. I did have to change the ball out to a metal one before I hung it here, because the plastic one, you know, over time, you can switch forward, reverse, and the tooth and the canopy kind of dug into the plastic ball. So I've switched out with the metal. It doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. Medium's still going to be about 110. High is still going to be about 200. And oddly enough, I feel about as much air now as I can with it on forward, probably because the way my garage is designed and the air coming down off the walls or whatever. Let it slow down to a stop, then I'll show it to you on with 4 blades. We'll now run the fan with 4 blades. As I said in other videos, you know, a lot of these fans, you know, starting about the 90s, had the option of running with 4 or 5 blades. The 4 giving a more classic look, the 5 more contemporary look. For some reason it's making some sort of a scraping noise. I'll have to check that out momentarily. With the 4 blades, you're going to get a little bit of a speed increase, and I think it's been proven you're going to get a little bit better air movement as well, which is not as much stress on the motor, as well as I guess the spacing between the blades has something to do with it too. But it's especially noticeable with these spinner motors, because with something like a Hunter Original, it's going to be, you know, the weight of the motor is not going to let the blade count make that much of a difference. Here it's very noticeable. This fan's probably going about 70 RPM right now, whereas it's going 60 on low. Oh, the scraping stopped. Fewer blades does mean a little bit more of a wobble, you know, most of the time, just because the more blades you have, the easier it is to balance it. It's probably going about 130 now instead of 110. Go ahead and turn it on high. Figure high is going about 220 RPM or so. Seem to feel a little more air coming off of it too. Like I said, it's when you have the option to run 4 or 5 blades, 4 will give you more air movement, and it's definitely the case here. Not going to bother to show it to you on reverse just because the speeds are the same, and I've already shown it both forwards and backwards with 5 blades. We'll say on this fan, with 4 blades, they're a pain in the butt to install, because they put the inner row of holes directly above the switch housing, so you kind of have to squeeze a screwdriver in there, and I've actually scraped up the corners of the switch housing in years past trying to get this fan installed with 4 blades. Personally, I like it aesthetically better with 5. I like most fans better with 5 blades, given the option, which probably puts me at odds with a bunch of the collectors, but that's why we each have our own tastes. Also, because 4 blades on this fan are notoriously hard to install, it's kind of why I like it better with 5. But this is a unique fan, at least apparently in the collector world. It's probably just, you know, average Joe Blow. It's just another everyday ceiling fan, but it's definitely a unique one. It puts out an okay amount of air. It's nothing that somebody's absolutely going to beg to have in their collection, but it's not an eye fan or whatever. But it is a good fan. It's got its ups and downs. It's done its job for 22 years, and maybe soon we'll find a new home for it. So again, this is a 56-inch Encon Imperial fan, and I've been waiting a long time to film this one. Now I've finally been able to. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep watching my YouTube channel, and more fan videos to come.